Greetings, everyone, and Happy New Year. This is Claire. I'm in New Zealand, sitting in the half dark in my cottage. I know that some of you are in the Northern Hemisphere, where spring has arrived with great abundance and certainty, exuberance. Over here, of course, we're entering the autumn equinox, so it's the different time of the year. But wherever we are, there's this sense of something magical and potent and expectant in the air. So it's wonderful to welcome you all here on behalf of the 2025 initiative today. We are looking forward to sharing about 60 to 90 minutes in what we hope will be a dynamic and experimental conversation. We've been talking a lot during our retreat months about ways we might remodel our get-togethers. And today is going to be something of an experiment. We're wanting to share with you much of the process of our last few months, where we've been engaging in a listening and receptivity process. And really what we're wanting to model is the kind of conversations that we have behind the scenes when we meet weekly and plan the program and just see what turns up. So really moving away from the old model of presenter and audience and into a more circular conversational mode where we all participate and co-create the material together. This is especially for the full moons. So a very warm welcome to you all. And this will be an experiment. So we're all in this together. Some time ago, we talked about the concept of hygge, which translates to hospitality and welcome and ease and joy. And this is the kind of note that we are wanting to work with in each of our gatherings, especially today in our global garden. So Katja and Daniela are going to guide us through an opening ritual. But before we do this, we would like to invite you to turn your cameras on. I see many of you already have your cameras on, but if you go up to the right-hand side of your screen, there is a small icon with 9 squares. If you click on that, that will give you a gallery view of all who have gathered here today. And we just invite you to turn your cameras on, take a deep breath, settle, slow your breathing right down, and scroll through the different video cameras so that you can see who's here this morning, this evening, this afternoon. Meet each other through the eyes and with an open heart. That sense of mutual welcome, gratitude, appreciation. It's a lovely way to create a group field and to deepen our connection with each other when we meet each other through the eyes. And of course, feel free to switch your cameras off after this moment during the webinar if you're more comfortable with that. So we thank you for coming along today. We hope to surprise you, and we hope you will surprise us. I will pass the stick on to Katja and Daniela, and Sharon will lead us into the opening ritual with her music.
One of the things that we've talked about is having space and silence. And so all through today, in between kind of sections, there will be some music. It's all improvised. It's just as I'm sitting here playing at my desk. Sorry, and I will say, and in these moments, this is just a reflective time. This is you can close your eyes. This is a breathing time. It can be a journaling time. You know, it is a space to let sink in whatever is here.
So, friends, let us acknowledge the presence of the group. Those of us who are now on this call, those who are part of the group on a subjective level right now, those who are part of this group across the veil. And let us get united with the light and love and will to good. And as a symbol of our individual lights, joined into the light of the group, let's light our candles. And if you don't have one, just visualize your own candle joining the candles of the group. So let's visualize our group in the garden. And when we're there, we create the etheric temple.
Okay, here's what I found.
with the great support of technology. Here's what we find in that garden. And in that temple above it, we find a path that leads us to the shore. And on that shore, we see a campfire. We stand around it, hearing the silence of each other, the silence of the group. And we see the vast, limitless body of water. And in the sky above it, we see the clouds. Full of rain. And we see that rain pouring over the limitless forest. We see the drops of water coming through the crowns of the trees, through the branches, coming down to the soil. And above all of that, the fire, the water, the forest, we see a limitless, dark, starry sky. Starry sky.
And so this is here where we will call in the directions, asking them to support and protect us during our gathering. To the energies of the South, thank you for teaching us how to walk softly on the earth, how to live impeccably. To the energies of the West, thank you for teaching us about life beyond death. Thank you for teaching us how to free ourselves of our past and renew our vitality. To the energies of the North, thank you for teaching us how to respect and cherish our ancestors and all those who come after us, the children of our children. To the energies of the East, thank you for showing us the heights that we only dare dream of. Thank you for teaching us how to fly wing to wing with the great nameless spirit. To Mother Earth, we are here for the upliftment of all of your children. Two-legged, four-legged, those who crawl, those who fly, those who swim. The plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, all of our relations. To the sky, Father, Sun, Grandmother, Moon, star people, thank you for teaching us how to sing this beautiful song of life. To my heart, to our heart, where the 6 directions meet. May our lives always spread out from this point of love, wisdom, and joy. And so we begin our work. Thank you.
Welcome to the garden. Last year, we invited the community to start the global garden of souls, dedicating the plant in own garden to one big global garden. And this year, the sacred space of our global garden will grow, and we invite us to recognize it as a sacred space, as a temple with that open to the sky, temple within the garden.
In our conversations, we talked about what if we were meeting in a garden, how that might be. And we so we're going to probably all 4 of us, 5 of us, talk a bit about what that garden and sacred temple means to each of us, and you'll have a sense of our conversations, and I think of hope a sense of your own garden, I guess. And I thought back to salons, and how salons in their day and their heyday were often disseminators of new ideas. And you know, if we invited you all to our garden, there would be chairs and tables and places to converse, and food and music and poetry and maybe some art. So we're trying to, at least in my head, I'm kind of holding that kind of thing. If I could invite you to my farm and have these conversations there, or to any of our own homes, it's that kind of feel of welcoming, of opening the heart, of yeah, and of beauty. And laughter.
Yes.
And it's a gathering place. And at some point, as we were sharing, the image of the ancient Greek agora came. If you know agora, it's every ancient Greek city had own agora. It's open space where all citizens come together and make important decisions. So we realized that this meeting space in our garden, it's etheric agora that together we can create.
It's a place. I was thinking about the words I could use. I never used words to describe my temple, so I was trying to find the words that would describe it. And well, for those who ever went to Egypt, it's a Luxor temple in Egypt. And if you never went there, my experience of that temple is, and not because I want to reconstruct Luxor temple in my home. It's just I'm talking about the experience that the etheric temple that we are building together would have for me. And it's a large space, all inclusive and yet intimate in a way. And I've written the words, it's a space safe for my heart to be touched. You know, it's where you know the energies, and the energies, rather you recognize the energies, and the energies recognize you, and you're friends with the entire space and everybody in it.
Yeah, it seems like our inner place, inner group place, where there is always love and energy and support for each other.
Yes, yeah.
In our shared journey, that's how I feel and how I see our garden. And at the same time, it is a place of some practical things happening, because, you know, if you're a gardener, you always have something to do, right? And if you know that your fellow friends, gardeners, are caring of that garden as well, it is joyful, and it is very supportive. That thought form, that sense of presence of the group in our life, in our garden.
Mm.
Yeah.
What I see reminds me of others who have planted frankincense, which now contributes to the candle that I burn. The roses that I use, the essential oil of rose otto has the highest frequency of any aromatic plant. That my whole sole purpose is to produce healing, and the frequency is what that is about. So if you have 320 megahertz as the highest frequency, imagine that not only heals the body, but the mind. In my house, I have a diffuser on every level. On this level, I am diffusing orange, high citrus, high feeling. Throughout my home, I have cut flowers. Behind me is the pot that I started with the garden. Unfortunately, things must die and must be replanted, and I haven't been able to find the right plant for it. But it doesn't get enough sunlight, and those kinds of things tell us how complex our life really is, that some things do have to die to make place for others. But the essential oils that I use and the homeopathic remedies that I use contribute to my good health that I can share with all of you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the chat open, And we would love for you to put your ideas as things come to you in the chat so that we collect them collectively, and that we bring those all together. So please feel free to use the chat, and it is there and open for you. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I hope you have an idea of how we had a lot of discussions about this, and the garden kept coming back up. And as Christine pointed out, of course, there are going to be weeds and things will change. So we see this garden evolving over the year as we gather together. And of course, there are different seasons in the garden and different plants in the garden. Different ideas will be coming, and different sharings will be coming. So are we good there? Is there anything else from our group? Yes, Josette, space for each other. Exactly. And, you know, if you can imagine coming into an open space, you know, where there's food and places and new people to meet and conversations to have. We have this platform that is a little, that has its own characters, but so over the course of the next, the rest of today, please add your thoughts about the garden, because it is going, we are looking to make this, you know, it's less presenter and more interactive. And we'd like to really use the chat a lot, partly to conserve time and to be safe, but there it is. I don't know. So I'll pass it over, Sasha. Are we, anything else? Claire?
Yeah.
We're also hoping to foster a space where people feel safe to bring questions and uncertainties, and where we are each other's teachers, and where we can turn ideas around and live with the uncertainties. So we're living in such unstable times, and yeah, just to find a place of safety and exchange will be very valuable. And that's something we co-create. I keep thinking, you know, quite often when I'm typing on my computer, I'll type the word soul and it comes out soil, or soil and it comes out soul. And I think, oh, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Because, you know, here we are tending the soil, but we're tending the soul, our individual souls, but the group soul too, through these meetings.
And so in these meetings, we are opening up the people we invite. We are bringing in, as best we can, a group, you know, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, so that we are looking for varying and differing opinions and ideas that may not necessarily be the same as ours, and we are hoping to elevate that so that we stay out of the muck and the mud, as we know, you know. So.
Like what Claire said about soul interchange is that, yeah, in a way, this is our space to express the soul through the soil and give the birth to the new. And through all our programs this year, we will be inviting you to come back to this temple, to this garden, it's open to the sky. And it's symbol, it's a space that there is a sense that it will keep revealing itself. And we just listen in what's there for us in this garden. And with this, I invite some music.
Okay, so this is garden writing music. So this is, I'm going to play, actually I'll use my other flute. I'm going to play some music. So would you just throw stuff into the chat? Let's just see. And I'll be, the way I do is I listen and read what's coming in and play to that. So let's build a garden of words and images for a few moments.
Beautiful, thanks, Sharon.
The 2025 initiative full name is 2025 Initiative Preparing the Way. And it's been the focus for us all these years, preparing the way for the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. And this year, we will be holding this focus stronger than usual, and as we're getting closer to 2025. And three main topics, three main criteria, or three main ways to prepare the way is, there are three themes that will be common for all our programs, the full moon programs and new moon programs. It's the theme of establishing right relations on all the levels, from individual to international, between the nations, establishing the right measure of peace through all those levels. The theme of bringing the principle of sharing into the economic relations and between all relations between people, communities, and nations. And the theme of cleaning the house of religion and politics. And we understand it as restoring the true meaning of leadership, spiritual leadership and practical leadership, taking responsibility to hold the vision and follow the vision. And that's, as I said, those three topics will be common for all our programs, full moon and new moon programs. Over to you, Sharon.
So as we were having these discussions about, and I've just newly come into this group, so I didn't know the history of the group, and I've been in a few of the sessions, but over the conversation of several meetings, weekly meetings, the group kept trying to make a plan, to set things down, to decide what we were going to do each month, and to have a big global plan planned out and set out. And every time we finished the meeting, there would be nothing. You know, we just couldn't, nothing emerged as something really clear. And I'm sure you've heard this conversation happening in different ways in your life for the past year. But it became really clear to me that, you know, that planning and securing a secure plan schedule is not of what to do isn't really available to us. We really don't know what will be true 6 months, 3 months now as things evolve and change. And so the idea of, you know, what is true now came up. What is actually true in this moment? And bit by bit, we realized that this is really about presencing and being mindful about what is happening now. And we are, that there is no fixed thing, that we need to move with life. And so for some people in the group, it's been a hard thing to let go of the need to plan out. However, we can all, you know, think about what is true now and what is the next step, we've talked about the next right step, not as opposed to what's the wrong step, but what is the next right step? And Claire loved the word indicated step, what's emerging. And it occurred to me today, there's a beautiful Tai Chi practice, Tai Chi Walking. I'm trying to do this with, and you could try this. Let me do here. This is going to be, but you can try this where you are in your own space right now. And just so you know, we are going to be we want things to be practical. But if you want to stand up where you are right now, with or without your vision on, and put all of your weight onto one leg. And so that the other leg, you know, is just there with no weight on it. Put all of your weight on one leg. And this Tai Chi walking, I know many of you have done this, is to put that next foot forward, keeping the weight on that back leg, but put your foot forward until you are secure in that foot. So if you imagine walking on the beach or in a rocky terrain or in a muddy, you know, across a river, you'd put your foot down to check that it's not going to slide and you're not going to wind up in the drink. So feel that foot secure, and then we transfer the weight to the next place. And now all the weight is on that leg. And then you put the next foot forward, no weight on it. But as that foot is in the next right place that you are going to be there and be able to stand, you can transfer the weight. So that was, we've had, and for those of you who have or have not seen Frozen 2 by Disney, I would invite you to go and find it on YouTube. Let me just plug back in here. Find on YouTube Frozen 2, The Next Right Thing. It is astonishingly esoteric. What's that, Sasha?
It was the theme song that we used for our focused forum in December for Sagittarius.
Yeah, and it's you know it's I've forgotten her name, is in a dark cave. She's all by herself and everything is dark, but there's a little bit of light. And the whole thing is, you know, I don't know what's next, but I'm going to take the next right step. And kind of that's how we kind of came along with it.
And you remember what Claire, you shared with us the Sabian symbol of today,
Yes.
which is something. Would you care to read it or?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes.
Yes, I'll just see if I can pull it up. It reminds me, what we're talking about reminds me of the artistry of the spider too, who spins its web, its thread, in order to walk on it. You know, it actually has to spin it before it can walk, and it's a beautiful example too. Let me see the Sabian symbol. Yes, so this was an excerpt from an astrologer whose name is Blaine Beauvais, who sends a daily interpretation of the Sabian symbol, which is actually beautifully poetic and kind of quirky and conversational. I really love it. And this was from yesterday's, which was the equinox for you in the Northern Hemisphere. The fool has a noble history. Shakespeare's fools rank amongst the most wise and painfully funny characters one can find. The role of the fool in a regal court is to deflate the grandiose king, get him to laugh and take some of the steam out of his over-inflated sense of himself. In this way, the overly profound, overly serious are brought back down to earth. And in the case of kings and leaders and all of regal pretense, that is a very good thing. And if you do not see the humor in it, may we suggest it would be good to do so. It is true, and we do take ourselves terribly seriously. This is very earnest work, and we have to let go of that, I think, in order for the new life to come through. You know, all the old forms are falling away wherever we look, and unless we allow them to, the new form cannot take its shape. So this is very exciting, and we're going to get some things kind of muddled along the way, but that's actually okay too.
I said, yeah, no, there are no wrong notes, Margot. Yes, you've learned very well. I did a music workshop. So is this a good time for the kind of the feel of improv to have that feeling and do this little thing? I think this is a beautiful image for things. If you are a baker, this is a bunt pan or bunt pan. It is, Andrea, remembering the freedom in children. It is returning to child and being totally present. So I'm a musician as well. So this is a bunt pan and it's an instrument. And the idea is that, you know, the plan is right at the very center. And as a very young child, remembering the freedom of children, you know, whatever, sorry about the sound. Let me just fix this. Zoom is made for human voices, not for instruments, but we do our best. So everything that a young child does rings beautifully. Oh, you walked. Oh, you did this. Oh, you can do this. And everything we try, we learn and becomes part of what we can rely upon. It's at our core. And this has been, we've met at our core with these meetings. And I gave this example where at the edge of this bunt pan, it's thinner. And this represents something new that we haven't done before. This represent, and so often we get to the edge and we think, oh my gosh, that next thing I'm going to fall into the abyss, that new thing I'm going to fall into the abyss, I can't do it. The reality is there's the edge of the bunt pan, the edge of the cliff, the edge of the hill, and after which we fall into the abyss. The reality is there is all this that connects us to that new thing. And if we keep doing the same thing and always be secure and always do what we know, this is how we start sounding. Bit clunky, but at the growing edge, at where it's a little more brittle, a little thinner, a little further away from what we know. And in music improvisation, as Margot would know, there are no wrong notes. We take a breath. We've done this with this group today. We take a breath. We kind of looked at what we were doing and we trust that it will, I mean, we're all grown adults. We trust that we will be able to find what's true now, what's the next step, both as a group and for humanity and for ourselves. So this is very much an improvisatory process for us all, and trust our vulnerability, and trust ourselves. Just trust ourselves individually, trust the group, trust our capacity, and know that we've got it all in here and we're just growing. We've got a growing edge. So this is a growing edge that we've been working through with this in our group for the past few weeks. So
yeah, we really love the sentiment that the very deep message that Rumi speaks of in this line that he says, there is a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there. And in a way, that's what we're trying to establish here in this group gathering between us is a field that's beyond right and wrong, where we can have different opinions, where we can discuss things, where we can voice our unknown, uncertainties, vulnerabilities, questions, during these changing times, and as Sharon says, just meet each other with what is true for each of us now, and the rest will unfold because we can trust the processes, we trust each other, and we're not alone. We have all these collaborators on the other side, the subtle collaborators who are wanting so much to work with us. So
there's also this sense of that each of these gatherings, new moon and full moon gatherings over the year, are a mala bead on a mala that each is a bead, and so they all connect to each other, one session to the next session to the next in some way, and that so it's a kind of like a year-long thing. And we also said if we will adjust, we have to adjust. What's the next step? Okay, it's a little rough. Okay, well, let's adjust to that. And we thought, well, if it's looking the same in a year that it's looking now, there's something wrong, because we're trusting that it's going to change and grow and be organic as it ought to be.
And if we talk about mala, right? The beads are on a string. And this year, I'm feeling that string will be silence, which is the silent will that holds together, that sends the purpose and allows us to just really bring in through the group. Because as individuals, we work, we serve, but our capacity is not enough to work with that energy. As a group, as one group being, we are capable of reaching that silence, invoking that energy, ask for help, and precipitate it. So it's interesting when the group works, sometimes there's always people who speak and people who hold silence. It doesn't mean that they don't have anything to say, but that's their service, just holding that all together, allowing others to express. So those great concepts.
And we talked about, sorry, I just wanted to say, it's not an event. We talked about, this is not events we are creating, but rather a process. Remember how we talked about it? No, it's not a finalized product. We are in a process together. Yes, go ahead, Sasha, I'm sorry.
And it's, in a way, in its essence, it's in the next phase of this ongoing experiment that we learn to create this field through which we can work as one group. And we invite this year us to meditate on what is true now. Another dimension to this is that we recognize that one of the biggest challenges of these times is there are so many different versions of truth, and almost everyone has own version of truth. So we see this as a space where we can come with our own versions of truth and lift above the rational interpretation of what is truth. It's a place that we see create where we can live to a level above the mental level, go to Buddhi, group Buddhi, and meditate what is true with capital T now, which in essence is like to come to the vision. We're trying to together get that sense of the vision that is true at this moment. And that exercise that Sharon was sharing with us from Tai Chi, it's that each next movement it's the balance of listening, that silence, like being in a constant silence and listening what is true and what is the next movement, and in each next movement it's that sense of group listening.
And the hearing them, and not only hearing but also aligning with the opportunity that might present so itself. So we will not overplan. So we leave some space of our life, group life, opening to that possibility. So we create that space for those energies to manifest themselves without, with less words about them, but with the more inner space to receive them and to really incorporate them in our life, in that one step after another, because that is how I believe we practice. And that's how we know, is it really true for us? Not because, we said so, but because our life confirms it. And whatever can be let go, wilted, died, comes in the next form, evolvement. And as a group, we give space to that life to occur.
And it's through movement that change is invoked and evoked. It depends on not only how we move, but where we move. And it's very important to understand that we are not static beings. We are moving, vital beings to live the plan as it unfolds. And however we understand it, not to stand in the way of another, but to move on the way. And as a group, we do move together. And therefore, we then form a united, synthetic process. Synthesis is, unity is to be developed. And we are part of that development.
Love that, Tara.
Yeah.
Privilege and joy. Thank you, Tara.
As just Katya, as you were talking about what was kind of emerging, I thought about our, I'm sure there are gardeners up there. We have some pots and plants. Mine is just starting to come, and I've got about an acre of it. But when you put things in the ground or something pops up and you don't remember planting it, and you're not quite sure where it came from,
Yes.
or it must have been a bird, or you put something in and you can't find it. So it's I think in metaphor. So I see that very very clearly, and that what Katya was saying about when emerge, and if we're sitting in that one step, we're sitting very present to what is right around us right now, and if we are very present, we're going to see more and be present to what's more in great joy, Claire.
Make joy our business. As Alice Miller says, she has a title for a collection of poems, which is Hard Times Require Furious Dancing.
Yes.
Which is actually so wonderful. I mean, that too works along with the Tai Chi, deliberate, mindful, step by step. Both can be present.
And it's interesting because also Waldorf schools of movement, eurythmy, which is even like, I think, a greater concept. But they also do have this walk, which is a healing walk by Steiner. This walk has to be done exactly also 1 foot. You lift the weight move the weight onto the other foot only after you really deeply planted. And that is a sequential movement, which is the flow of energy. And at first, when you start doing that, it's very slow. But then the rhythm changes and you can walk quite fast. And also when Tara was speaking, it just occurred to me that we come back very often to the concept of the plan, but the plan is to be done by individual or disciple. As a group disciple, or as a group intending to become a disciple as a group, we are aligned also with the purpose. So it's plan and purpose. We are both. I believe also that purposeful walk, and that finding the next step is the precipitation of the plan, and that purposeful where we're going, that is the purpose that is leading us as a group. So it all comes together.
Just to wrap up this part of our sharing about the year program, we intend to synchronize the full moon and the new moon programs. And as with the full moon, our focus will be on the vision, that we come together to meditate on what is true now, bringing the vision on whatever discussions that is focused around which topic. During the new moon work, we will be focusing on the human need and how we can bring that vision that we precipitated during the full moon time can be translated into practical service. And that these two parallel programs will follow those 3 topics that I shared earlier. Through cardinal signs, will focus on the topic of leadership. Through fixed signs, we'll be focusing on topics of economy of sharing and principle of sharing as such. And through signs of mutable cross, we'll be focusing on topic of right relationships. And through this dance of ongoing, dance is the right word, like ongoing move from the vision to practical manifestation, that's our intention to move forward this year.
Yes. Because when we talk about all those amazing, great concepts, right, that the only way to work with them is just to bring them into our own life and to see how they work for us individually and as a group. So then we report what does work and what really doesn't, and what does need support. Because if it's hard for us, for people who dedicated like decades of service and learning and studying and teaching others, if we come to certain glitches and certain problems individually and as a group, then we can really see it more clearly and ask for help in certain areas, and also signify for hierarchy what was going on. So that is great, I believe, cooperation between the energies of the full and new moon through the year, and from the big words to actual, realization of those concepts in our lives, reporting back and listening to people who are working specifically on certain issues, and where they succeed and where they don't, so.
Are we going to breathe now for a moment? Yeah. So if you've got some thoughts in the chat, how this is all resonating with you, or throw those in the chat, it'd be great to hear. And I'm just going to play.
Thank you, Sharon. Are there any messages from the chat that I'm not really that able to access it easily through sharing the screen? So
Yeah, it's okay. No, there have been some lovely responses, but nothing in the last moment. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Yes, and thank you for this amazing music and unbelievable images. It's Claire's, in Claire's, I don't know, not responsibility, but her creation are the images that coming through for us. It's absolutely, I don't know, stunning. It's so beautiful. Thank you. And another work that we'll be doing next year, and we've been doing for a year now, it is vigil. That is part of our group service. It's a daily meditation. It comes every day at 4 p.m. in New York time and GMT. What?
8 p.m. GMT.
8 p.m. GMT. It is an amazing service. I believe that started last March when this crisis became obvious for us. And that was our response to that crisis, because the energy of crisis gets beneficial when the group, and I would say this for us, it's the much wider world group, is standing and requesting that this energy of crisis will be transformed into greater level of consciousness for humanity. So all this suffering will not go in vain, but will allow to shift and move and evolve. And as a response to that need, that was group that answered that call, and we call it vigil, the vigil. And there are many, maybe about 30 people who lead the meditations. And I would say the medium of 60, 70 people who are part of that daily service. And it is a very special group, place, and field. And I'm deeply grateful because every time, at least when I'm thinking about the atrocities that we're passing through, which are cleansing, they are. But in a way, it's much easier to see that cleansing part when we work. Yeah. So I don't know, there are other people here who are part of that program. So if anybody wants to add something.
I think it's a example of that response through the listening. That it was an initiative that we didn't plan in advance, and it's emerged as a sudden realization, and we put an invitation out there, and many people responded through the resonance. And so that was an amazing unfolding, and big gratitude for all of us who hold that rhythm and that service. And in a way, it's an example of that group response, group unfoldment. And I think for us, it's an indication that we can work in that mode of functioning as a group, as a living being, listening to the need and responding to that. An image came to me through while we were in this retreat, our group retreat, that the manifestation of the plan or externalization of the plan, externalization of the hierarchy, it's not something metaphysical. It's like a natural process. It follows the natural laws of unfoldment. The same way as the wing of a butterfly unfolds following the inner impulse. That's like follows the laws of biology, laws of physics. It's unfoldment. So the group, by listening and responding, works as that unfolding mandala. And that's how externalization happens. We are externalizers. Hierarchy can work only up to the higher levels of the mental plane. Everything below that they expect from us. And in a way, Vigil became that beautiful demonstration of such response.
You know, as you speak, Sasha, I just look at this image of this amazing bowl of water. The surface reflects and absorbs the light and the energy of the skies and everything above it. And then that reflected water is a nurturing substance poured forth to thirsty everything. So that is how we work. Yeah.
I'm one who is that always trying to bring the structure in, and I'm aware of the time limits. And so I just want to say that's the call for all of us, and the Creative Labs became that avenue through which we invite the groups to express, bring in own ideas, and offering own programs, own meditations. and we will be happy to assist to the best of our capacity. And the Souls of Our Nations Creative Lab is a great example of that ongoing creative lab that started last summer, what should I say, last August. It was last winter for Southern Hemisphere. So it's that impulse that's rhythmically also manifests itself. So we invite you to step into that. And that's where the theme of the shared responsibility comes to. And thank you, Claire, for bringing this slide, because we see all this as a process of group unfoldment where everyone through the listening hears the next right step and taking the responsibility to help to manifest it. We see all these activities as a process of shared responsibility of one way or another. And we invite you to step in whenever you see that there is a possibility to advance this process, this experiment together.
Meaning?
Meaning. Okay, let's get in structure. It was the time limit. The new moon work is it's a good example of that attempt where we invite people to we call it experiment in self-organization. So we invite you to step in to be part of action area groups participating in monthly rhythm of focus and and preparing meditations for the new moons. They are also, if you have time and energy and resonate with it, we would appreciate your help us to administer the work of the 2025 initiative. We have administrative needs that we could share with anyone who is willing and capable of doing that. We can share more specifics of that. There's need for us to update our website and the need to update our to maintain our social media with all the managing all the recordings and putting them online. That specifics also we can share additionally. A few years ago, we've been asked to start receiving donations. Till now, we don't have a donate function on our website. And the reason for that we are not a registered entity. We're not a registered, we don't have a registered group that could receive donations. And I acknowledge that like we didn't progress since 2 years ago. We didn't do much on that. One of the reasons for that, we just don't have enough administrative capacity to focus on that and do that. We're more focused on delivering the work to be done. But still, yes, we accept donations, and that also we can discuss separately if you contact us. But the main thing is holding the tension of the group field and listening. Because that's the main way how we can be part of this unfolding wing of a butterfly, unfolding group mandala.
So Sasha, I'm putting your email into the chat for anyone who would like to offer to connect with you, or if you would put that into the chat for everyone.
Yes.
I've got it. I've got it.
But
I can do that.
The group email, Sharon.
The group email? Okay.
If you have time or space. Please do join our ranks, and it's good when group responsibilities are shared more widely, so it won't be just us 5 and 7 people, but more groups doing that.
I think it's a good moment for another pause. Time runs so quickly. There were more things we were planning to do today.
You know, when we improvise, it's always, always good to know what to leave out. So I think for this one, let's just, if everyone just would breathe.
I thought we were.
Attentively. Let's go. Maybe just close your eyes, actually, and listen. So that this is really a deeper listening. As this, let it sink in. I will just say to end this little piece, Zoom is made for voices. And so depending on the frequency of the instrument, it may cut out. That's just what we deal with. Been working with that for the year. That being said, this flute is pitched in A, which in Chinese 5-element medicine is the key, the tone, the root note for spring.
We come to close to the ending of our time together in the garden today. I want to share with you the vision for the next few years. The name we adopted a long time ago, 2025 initiative, and we know that 2025 is the year where the centennial conclave of the hierarchy happens. And actually there is not much that we can do about it, and it's not of, in a way, it's not of our business what will be happening there, in terms of like not much we can do for that. But what we can do is this last few years that DK called as the era of forerunners, where he said that our work is to prepare people's minds and hearts for the reappearance. We see that's the task of activization of the world group is what we can do and have to do, is recognition of the unity of purpose within the world group, regardless of our affiliation and which segment of the world group we work. I'm talking about the entire world group, that if the world group could recognize the unity of purpose and work for that purpose consciously, that would be a great contribution that we can make. That when we actually come to year 2026, when the next festival week of the World Service will be happening, that not just esoteric groups would use that opportunity to energize the work, but the entire world group would be able to consciously stand using that opportunity of the impulse of Festival of 26. That would give a great impulse for the world group for the next 7 years, and that will mobilize humanity. And in that case, in the year 25, when the hierarchy will gather for their centennial conclave, that dynamic could be recognized. And that's how their decisions that they will be taking for the next 100 years, setting the plans for humanity for 100 years, they can take into account recognizing that the world group is really active and really functional. So we suggest that vision for us to hold, that the world group becomes self-recognize its unity of purpose. And that's what we suggest for us to hold.
May I tell you one thing?
Yes,
I'm Daniela. Just in order to present me on a side, I underline my gratitude. I am a really young student, and it's interesting to me because I began walking in the daily rendezvous. To me is in the evening since last March, and it was precisely the beginning as a student too. So I'm somehow and my gratitude in particular is linked to the fact that I look for the group daily, and I would share with you this idea I had earlier about the agora on a side. I mean, the agora is the context where people meet in order to choose something. For political reasons, we have a problem, we share our opinions, and we find a solution. This is the agora. But to me, the better idea, we can get a very interesting idea of the agora in woods. I mean, wood is a garden with trees and not persons. And the very, I live in woods. The very interesting thing about woods is the rhythm of breathing. Before you told us a very beautiful reflection about the silence. In woods, the breathing is so slow. The rhythm of the breath, they breathe in and breathe out once per day. Okay, the oxygen in the daylight and another in the night. So one cycle of breath per day. They are really slow. But so it's a form of silence. And when I look for, I look deeper the group, I look for a group of trees somehow. Okay, so it's okay, it's just an idea. So thank you so much. Ciao.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Love that.
Back to what you were saying, when we were in Hawaii, it's on Maui, there's a volcano, the old volcano, right? So
Yes.
when you go up Halekula, right? There's forest, beautiful lush forest, and then it stops growing. And as we were going upward, all of a sudden I saw this group of trees far away from the main forest, not too high up the mountain, but kind of pretty high. And I looked at those trees and I thought, those are disciples. And that is exactly it. You know, this the breath of the forest and the breath of the forest that grows much higher and bridges those environments. Thank you.
I suggest that those of you who are interested, look up the music and the words for the Green Cathedral. And if the words begin, I know a green, I can sing it, but I won't at present. But I know a green cathedral, the shallow forest shrine, where leaves in love join hands above and arch your prayer and mine. Within its cool depths sacred, the stately cedar sighs, and trees in love join hands above and arch your prayer and mine. And it goes on into the evening tide and the stars above. So ask Siri for the Green Cathedral and enjoy the music. And you may want to play part of it, Sharon. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And I've painted pictures in the Green Cathedral, the one that exists in far northwestern Pennsylvania. So I could remember, and always have, about a green cathedral and a hallowed seat where I sat to paint a long time ago, but not that long ago.
Oh. Oh yeah, tree.fm is awesome.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
just put in the chat
Put in the
box
chat. Yeah.
a link to tree.fm, which is if you want to go and visit the forests of the world and listen to the trees breathing, that's where you go.
It's
and
beautiful.
upload the sounds of your own forest to the site, and it's just very beautiful. Prompted by your comment there, Daniela. Thank you so much, Daniela.
The blessing here at the Hill Center is that we live with forests around us and easily walk into it, and also have the open meadows and the gardens. And one last thing about a garden. I was listening to all you were saying, and I have decided I am going to plant a garden that is going to absorb and enjoy weeds. We always talk about pulling weeds out, but weeds are only plants that aren't wanted where they happen to be placed or where they place themselves. So Tara at the Hill is going to have a special weed garden, and I'm going to see and enjoy how they bloom. And it will be the unwanted will be wanted.
So beautiful, and I think the insects and the bees and the birds will send out a call of celebration. So, Tara.
And I'm a specialist in weed growing.
I could beat you.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm pretty practiced. The thing is, most of the weeds are edible.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah. So you're going to have an edible. So we do want to be respectful of time in our own way. And this first is an improvisation. So we're finding our way through this. but we do want to be respectful of your taking the time out on this Sunday afternoon or Monday morning, and we will keep aiming to do that each session.
We'll keep aiming. That's a good word.
Yep.
It stands between the fourth ray and the seventh ray,
Exactly.
and the flow of the heating.
A little bit of Saturn thrown in there.
And the joy of Jupiter. Don't forget.
And the surprise of Uranus. So we were going to go on a journey to the temple as a visualization, but we have come to the close of our time. So we will simplify things, and Daniela will lead us in the Gayatri. And we just want to thank you all and bless you all for being with us. It's been wonderful to be in your company.
And Danielle, just before we do that, we would love, what we had hoped to do is have each person speak out kind of a word to take with, to put that into the collective, but we would love you to take a breath and offer a word into the chat garden for the good of the group as before we leave.
Yes.
So one more for the ending, Daniel, just to provide some time for people to put something in chat. So I will do what I normally do at the end of our gatherings and announce our next webinar, our next meeting. And so the first gathering in the garden following the new format of open conversation on what is true now will be happening next Saturday, Sunday, if you are in that time zone, on March 27th GMT. Our guests in the garden, the first guests in the garden will be Malvin Artley, Dot Maver, Dr. Julie Wu, and sharing on what is true now in the field of leadership and how we restore the true cleanness in the house of religion and poetry. We don't know where that sharing will take us, but it will be our shared dynamic meditation in the process. Join us at 6 p.m. GMT on March 27th.
So just before we go, I'll just ask you to throw your word in to share with the group and to take with you to join to the next session.
Are we good?
Yeah,
Yes.
the words are coming in now into the chat. So
Okay.
Oh, you want it through chat.
please put it into the chat. Yeah, we were going to do it out loud. We're just trying to be a little joyfully Saturnian.
And so as we are joyfully Saturnian in each of our parcels of our beautiful global garden, let's send gratitude to each other, to the energies, to the directions, to our hearts. And I will then voice the Gayatri. O Thou, who give us sustenance to the universe, from whom all things proceed,
to whom all things return.
to whom all things return, unveil to us the face of the true spiritual sun, hidden by a disk of golden light, that we may know the truth and do our whole duty as we journey to thy sacred feet. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And we'll leave the chat open for a moment as you want to put anything last moments in. And we look forward to seeing you next time. And your candle, some of you may like to, leave it burning, and some of you may like to use this a blowing out as the ritual ending to our time together.